Hey everyone, and welcome back to this module, Balancing Blueprints and C++ in Game Development. In this module, we'll be creating a project from one of the templates so that anybody can follow along with this, and it will also provide ample opportunities for us to make improvements by sharing existing functionalities between Blueprints and C++. So to get started, you're first going to want to have your Epic Launcher running. You can do this in pretty much any version. Some of the code may differ slightly between versions, so I'm going to use 4.25 as the most up-to-date version. If you are able to follow along with the same version, I definitely recommend doing so. All we want to do then is press the launch button, and we'll create our project the same way you would with any other new project that you've used. So we're going to be setting this up as a game project. Specifically, we want the top-down shooter example. You could have done this with pretty much any of them. They all have their kind of flaws when we're using the C++ specific projects. But this one has a lot of different classes and examples that we can work with. So I find this one to be really interesting as a project to try and improve, especially when sticking in line with the official documentation as provided. And it's quite funny to see where certain things aren't followed in the templates. So if we select that one and press next, you can choose where you want this to be placed and give the project a name. I'll just name this one Top-Down Shooter. We also want to make sure that we change the Blueprint project to a C++ project. And then if you needed to, you can change the quality or the target hardware settings. I'm going to leave this at maximum and desktop, and also choose not to have any starter content. With that done, press Create Project and let that load. Okay, so when your project has loaded, I'm just going to dismiss and get rid of the different updates that we have down here. The things that we're going to focus on in this module, we just want to look at how the project kind of comes packaged and start getting an idea of what we're going to be looking at, what we can change, and the general flow of the course that way. So at the moment, this is, as we've just seen, a purely C++ project. So this means if we go into the folder structures, we won't see any blueprint variants of any of the classes that have been created, and even the pawn, which is in the level at the moment, is the C++ class directly from the C++ folder down here. If we also go over to the project settings and go into the maps and modes, we can see again that the game mode which is being used is the C++ version directly. There's no blueprint option available for this project to use. So all of these variables are kind of hard set, and again, we'll be coming back and looking at that more in depth a bit later. So this is just the project as it is. Just wanted to show you, if you haven't opened one of these C++ templates before, what we're looking at. Now, just as a quick example, this will work for any of the classes that we have here. I'm going to just go into the top-down shooter pawn, so I'm just going to double-click this and let the IDE open. So I'm using Rider here. Rider for Unreal, and you can get this at the moment for free on the marketplace. But of course, any IDE will work for you to follow along with. VS Code or Visual Studio will be perfectly fine here. What I wanted to show here, though, is that we're currently in the code file, so I'm just going to jump over to the header file. And again, this is just to recap, this is the pawn class header file. And what we have that I wanted to focus on are the different properties that the class currently has. And this is actually a good thing, but can still be kind of limiting. So again, this is just kind of a precursor and a warm-up of what we're going to be looking at. But if we take a look at all of the components and even the variables down below, all of these have U properties assigned to them. So this is super useful, and hopefully you're familiar, but we can see here that we have the visible defaults only, things like blueprint read only, or the edit anywhere for the fire rate in the U property as well, and making them blueprint read and writable. So this exposes all of these variables and components to be very accessible and editable inside of the editor or blueprints, which is, again, super useful. It's going to speed up the workflow for anyone picking this up or yourself when you're working with these. So these are just some concepts, though, of what I wanted to kind of get you familiar with. We're not going to be changing or updating anything in this module, or even really going into the concepts of why you should or shouldn't use things in certain ways. I just wanted to get you familiar with the project, and if you haven't actually opened one of these C++ projects before, or this one specifically, between this module and the next, maybe take some time to pause the videos and just open up all of the classes. So you've got the game mode, you have the pawn, and you have the projectiles. Just open them all up, have a read through the headers and the code files, and see what you can make of the code, how it's working, and the general kind of process behind them. So in this module, we've created our project ready to iterate and improve the general usability by balancing the class responsibilities between Blueprints and C++. And we'll be doing this in the next module when we look at the gameplay variables already available to us.